Welcome to Mill History Talk, the podcast where strategy meets storytelling, unpacking the drama, decisions, and disasters of war so you understand not just what happened, but why it still matters. The views expressed on Mill History Talk are those of the hosts, writers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any government agency, military organization, or institution. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. All right, welcome back to Mill History Talk, where history isn't dusty, it's strategy, friction, and occasionally global chaos carried in 300,000 tons of crude oil. This is episode 69, The Tanker War. Now, quick reminder, this is not a current affairs podcast. We're not here to break news. But we are here to give you the kind of military history that helps you understand why things keep happening, especially in places where geography, energy, and military power all collide. And Brian, if there is one place where everything collides...
The Persian Gulf.
Exactly. And this war is what happens when you take two exhausted armies, a global oil dependency, and a very small body of water, and let it simmer.
The Iran-Iraq War begins in 1980 as a conventional land conflict. Iraq invades Iran expecting a short war. That expectation fails almost immediately.
So right out of the gate, bad assumptions, which, historically speaking, is undefeated.
By 1982, Iran regains lost territory, but neither side can achieve decisive victory. The war becomes attritional, economically draining, strategically stagnant.
And that's the turning point, because when armies can't win, they start looking for something else to hit.
Both Iran and Iraq depended heavily on oil exports. Oil wasn't just revenue, it was war sustainment.
So this becomes less about battlefield maneuver and more about going after your opponent's paycheck.
Exactly. And Iraq moves first. In 1984, Iraq begins targeting Iranian shipping in the Gulf, using French-built Mirage F-1 aircraft, Exocet anti-ship missiles.
And this is where things escalate fast, because they're not just hitting military targets, they're hitting the system.
The goal is economic strangulation, disrupt Iranian oil exports, drive up insurance costs, reduce revenue.
Basically, make it so expensive and dangerous to move oil that nobody wants to touch it.
Between 1984 and 1987, over 250 ships attacked. Dozens sunk or rendered total losses.
And here's where it spreads, because once you start hitting shipping, you're not just hitting your enemy. You're hitting neutral countries, commercial shipping, global markets.
Which internationalizes the conflict.
It's like trying to punch one guy in a crowded bar and accidentally starting a brawl.
Iran cannot match Iraq's air power, so it shifts to asymmetric methods. Naval mines, small boat attacks, shore-based missile systems.
This is classic. If I can't outgun you, I'll out-annoy you.
Strategically disrupt you.
Brian.
Yes?
You're describing annoyance with a PhD.
That is not entirely inaccurate.
But seriously, mines are the real game changer here, because you don't see them.
Correct. Naval mines are low cost, high impact, difficult to detect.
And psychologically terrifying, because every ship captain now has to assume that the water itself is trying to kill them.
By 1987, Kuwaiti shipping is under sustained attack. Kuwait seeks external protection.
And this is where the U.S. looks at the situation and says, okay, now it's our problem.
The United States initiates Operation Earnest Will. Kuwaiti tankers are reflagged as U.S. vessels. U.S. Navy escorts begin.
And this is the moment everything changes. Because now, any attack risks hitting the United States.
Which raises escalation risk significantly.
And historically, that tends to get people's attention.
The Persian Gulf is a constrained environment. Narrow sea lanes, high traffic density, limited maneuver space.
So instead of blue water naval warfare, you get combat in what is basically a floating parking lot.
Threats are close range and ambiguous. Small boats, missiles, mines.
Which means decision time is compressed. You don't get long deliberation.
You get seconds. May 17th, 1987. USS Stark is struck by 2 Iraqi Exocet missiles.
Both hit. 37 sailors killed, 21 wounded. And this is one of those moments that cuts through all the theory. Because this is real.
The failure was not technological. It was identification, response timing, decision-making under uncertainty.
Friction.
Yes. Iran increases mine-laying operations in 1987 to 1988, targeting shipping lanes used by U.S. and Allied vessels.
And this is where things get dangerous in a different way. Because you can't deter a mine.
Right. It does not signal. It does not escalate. It simply waits.
And eventually, it finds you.
April 14th, 1988. USS Samuel B. Roberts strikes an Iranian mine.
And the explosion is massive. It nearly breaks the ship's keel.
The ship is heavily damaged, dead in the water. Casualties. 10 sailors injured, no fatalities.
And this is where damage control saves the day. Training, discipline, leadership.
The crew prevents catastrophic loss.
But this is the moment where the United States decides, enough. All right, so the Roberts hits the mine, and the United States basically says, okay, we're done playing defense.
April 18th, 1988. Operation Praying Mantis.
And Brian, this is not a warning shot. This is, we brought receipts.
The operation is designed as a deliberate punitive strike against Iranian forces responsible for mining operations. It unfolds in multiple coordinated phases. Phase 1. U.S. forces attack Iranian oil platforms used for surveillance and command. Marines board and evacuate personnel. Platforms are destroyed.
So basically, please step off the platform. We're about to delete it.
Phase 2 escalates rapidly. Iran responds with naval forces, surface engagements. Iran deploys fast attack craft, missile boats, frigates. The U.S. responds with surface action groups, carrier-based aircraft.
And now we have an actual naval fight.
The Iranian frigate Sahand engages U.S. aircraft.
And this goes poorly.
Sahand is struck by harpoon missiles, laser-guided bombs. It catches fire. It eventually sinks.
That's not a fight. That's a system demonstration.
Correct. The frigate Sabalon is also engaged, severely damaged, left dead in the water.
Which seems to be a recurring theme.
For ships hit in this conflict, yes.
Thank you, Brian. So, how does it turn out?
Estimated Iranian losses. 1 frigate sunk, Sahand. 1 frigate heavily damaged, Sabalon. Several smaller vessels destroyed. Approximately 50 to 60 Iranian personnel killed. U.S. losses. 2 Marines killed in helicopter crash. No ships lost.
So tactically, absolute dominance.
Yes.
Strategically, still complicated.
Operation Praying Mantis demonstrated effective joint operations, integration of air and naval power, rapid escalation capability.
This is basically the U.S. Navy walking into the room and saying, just so everyone's clear, we can turn the lights off whenever we want.
That is one interpretation.
It's the correct interpretation.
It also demonstrated that limited force can achieve tactical success, but cannot necessarily resolve strategic conflict.
Right, because you can win every fight and still not control the war.
July 3rd, 1988. USS Vincennes engages what it believes is a hostile aircraft.
But it isn't.
It is Iran Air Flight 655, a civilian Airbus. And this is where everything goes sideways. The ship fires. The aircraft is destroyed. 290 civilians killed.
And this is the other side of high-tempo operations. You compress decision time, and mistakes become catastrophic.
The crew believed they were under threat, but misidentification occurred.
And this is something we've seen before in this episode. The USS Stark, now the USS Vincennes. Both incidents where mistakes were made under stress, and the wrong target was engaged.
Yes, different outcomes, same underlying issue, friction in a compressed battle space. Across the tanker war, 400-plus ships attacked. Approximately 50-plus tankers sunk or total losses, hundreds more damaged.
And again, you don't need to destroy a navy to disrupt the system.
Correct. Economic warfare achieved strategic effect.
It's like you don't burn down the entire house. You just shut off the electricity and watch everything stop working.
I like that analogy, Hope.
I get one per episode.
By mid-1988, Iran's naval capability is degraded. Economic pressure is severe. U.S. intervention raises escalation risk.
And Iran realizes this is not sustainable.
In July 1988, Iran accepts a UN-brokered ceasefire.
Then just like that, after years of escalation, the war begins to wind down.
Not because of decisive battlefield victory, but because the cost finally outweighs the benefit.
All right, Brian, this is where we bring it home. Lessons.
Lesson 1. Economic warfare works. Targeting shipping and energy infrastructure. Alters strategic behavior. Forces international involvement.
You don't have to win battles. You can win pressure.
Lesson 2. Sea control is fragile. Even dominant navies are vulnerable to mines, small boats, asymmetric tactics.
Basically, you can have the biggest, most advanced navy in the world and still lose a fight to a floating explosive you didn't see.
Right. Lesson 3. Friction dominates combat, as demonstrated by the USS Stark and the Vincennes incidents.
Technology doesn't eliminate uncertainty. It just makes mistakes happen faster.
Lesson 4. Escalation control is difficult. Limited wars tend to expand. More actors, more risk, more unintended consequences.
It's like trying to microwave something for 30 seconds and somehow setting the kitchen on fire.
That is not standard microwave behavior.
You've clearly never lived in a college dorm.
And last, Lesson 5. Tactical success does not equal strategic victory. Praying Mantis. Total tactical dominance. Limited long-term strategic change.
Winning the fight doesn't mean you control the outcome. So the tanker war, not a sideshow and not a footnote.
A case study in maritime conflict, economic warfare, and escalation dynamics.
And maybe most importantly, a reminder that modern war isn't just fought on land, or at sea, or in the air. It's fought in systems.
And those systems are fragile.
All right, that's episode 69. If you enjoyed this, or if you now have a healthy fear of invisible naval mines,
Which you should.
don't forget to visit our Substack for a deeper dive into this subject, and our Facebook page for some pictures and other things.
The links are in the show notes.
And with that, take care, and we'll see you next time on Mill History Talk.